You are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue. It is Thursday, September 29th, and we have a great show coming up here for you. So, the weather's kind of cooling down. It feels like football season. We are getting into week 4 of the NFL now, recapping week 3 today. It just feels right. I mean, like, it's down to like 60s, 50s, nights in the 40s here now, so.
It's pretty rare now that I have to look at the weather to decide whether I'm wearing shorts or pants. I'm kind of just, it's almost a default to
Sweatpants
pants.
And hoodie weather,
right.
And football season
Feels great.
is definitely in full swing. So the show today will start out with a rant from Tim on defensive coaches in the NFL. There's pretty interesting stats to look at.
It's a concerning trend.
Yeah, it is. And then we're going to wrap up the first segment with hits and misses. Second segment will be all week 3 review, recapping some of the big games, and then running through some of the rest. And the last segment there will be reserved for predictions and bets on a budget for week 4 of the NFL. And that'll be a good one.
The normal setup for our episode, kind of getting in the routine, getting into the flow of the NFL season. So we all know that the league, especially, in the AFC with all these crazy young quarterbacks, right, is offensively driven. And I don't want to sit here and call for Mike Tomlin's job or anything like that, because I think he's a great coach. No, I don't think. At the end of the day, I think he's a coach. He's a top 32 coach in the world. That means he should have a job. I couldn't agree more, right? I'm not sure what power he has over offensive personnel and play calling, but what I can look at, right, what I can do is look at the trends. Let's look at just the defensive coach just this past weekend. Just this weekend, let's see. So we have Tomlin, Belichick, Allen, Vrabel, Rivera, Campbell, Bowles, Carroll, Saleh, McDermott, Smith, Staley, Eberflus, right? So 13 coaches, and 2 of them actually played each other. They went 2-11. 2-11. And 2 of them played each other, so they were bound to get a win there. And one of the games that they played each other was the Texans and the Bears, right? So, I mean, if they play anybody else, that's a loss, right? Yeah. So it's almost like 1-12. But we'll go with 2-11, right? And they all, with that one exception of a defensive coach beating a fellow defensive coach, lost to an offensive coach in every other instance. In the 11 losses, the teams averaged just under 17 points. And then combined in those losses, not average, obviously that'd be nuts average, combined in those 11 losses, the QBs threw for 9 touchdowns in 11 NFL football games. 9 touchdowns. Over a 17-game season, right? That's a pace of just under 14 touchdowns a year. 14 touchdowns a year. You tell me if that's what you wanted from your quarterback, right? Even the first-year head coaches, right? Either first year or maybe with our first year with a team. Even if they're, offensive coaches. First year, but they're offensive, so they're more progressive, right? You got Doug Peterson, Mike McDaniel, Nathaniel Hackett, Kevin O'Connell, Nick Sirianni, Arthur Smith, Zach Taylor. They all won. They all won this weekend. And we don't think, we don't sit here and say, oh, Mike McDaniel's a genius. We don't even know if Zach Taylor's that guy yet. Nathaniel Hackett looks lost, and he still is able to find a couple wins. Kevin O'Connell's 32, and he found a win. He figured out a way to do it. Nick Sirianni had googly eyes at his first press conference. He's 3-0 today. looks really good. Right? I mean, look, the defensive coaches, I think they can still win. Right? I'd argue the combo of, great defensive coach, star quarterback, that can win some games. Brady and Bill, Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning, right? Tomlin, Cowher, and then Big Ben. Right? Russ and Pete, Jimmy Johnson, Troy Aikman, right? Here's the problem. That combo is the definition of hitting the lottery. That is a very slim percentage of the defensive coaches that we see come through. Right? So let's look at all the defensive coaches in roughly the last decade. All right, there's I didn't even count. Let's go with 30 as a rough estimate. I'm not even going to read them all off, right? You can see them here, right? For those watching, you can see it. For those listening, just watch.
Yeah, listen up. Here it is.
Even if you're on somewhere that you're just listening, this will be posted on YouTube, so you can go watch it on there, right? But there's a lot of tough coaches here, right? Well, I'll glaze over a couple. We got Marvin Lewis, who's been pretty good, right? Chuck Pagano has been pretty good. Romeo Crennel has been okay, right? Obviously, these guys that have been in and out, right? Gus Bradley, Marone. Those are the guys that you see there in the black text. Look at the guys in red. Those are the ones that have been absolute failures. That's like 60% of the list. 60 to 70% of that list have been absolute failures. And even the ones that have quote-unquote worked, Rex Ryan won like 3 playoff games. I mean, if that's working, I just can't put him in the category with Mike Munchak and Dan Campbell's first go-around, right? He's in the next class. He wasn't a complete disaster, right? Chuck Pagano wasn't a disaster. Doug Marone got to an AFC championship game. Mike Zimmer was a great coach. Dan Quinn went to a Super Bowl. But you look at Joe Judge, Jeff Fisher, and Steve Wilkes, and Jim Tom Sula, Mike Pettin, Brian Flores, right? People, what did Brian Flores do wrong? He was trending in the right direction. Well, I mean, I don't know. He couldn't hold down an offensive coordinator. They went through 3 of them. I mean, in like, 2.5 years? He's suing the organization now. No, it went great. Yeah, no, when I hire a head coach 3 years later, I want him to come sue me. That's how I know it was a great hire. Right? Like, for whatever reason or not, it's disastrous. Todd Bowles the first time in New York, that was rough. Right? So, just in the last decade, I'm not saying that there aren't bad offensive coaches either, but I mean, look around. Let's look at all the division-leading head coaches. Harbaugh, Peterson, Mike McDaniel, Andy Reid, Matt LaFleur / Kevin O'Connell, right, tied. Todd Bowles, so I guess that's a defensive coach, but that's a tire fire of a division, and his team has yet to score over 20 points. Nick Sirianni, Sean McVay. 1 defensive coach. 7 of the 8 divisions, offensive coach. Let's look at the last place team. That's interesting. Well, 5 out of 8 of them have a defensive head coach. Hey, this is the pivot of the league. Right? This is what happens. All the rules are offensive. This is how it goes, right? And the ones that succeed, the defense coaches that succeed, have had excellent offensive staffs, such as Sean McDermott, who had Brian Dable, or Bill Belichick, who had Josh McDaniels. Thank you. Completely blanked. Almost making up Mike McDaniel, but you get my point, right? So you either got to find a genius offensive coordinator, which is clearly not Matt Canada. I think we can kind of rule that option out, or you start thinking about making a switch. Now, it's not crazy, right? It's not crazy. Not every changing of the guard has to be, you're a terrible team, you went 2-15, let's switch it, get a new coach. I mean, Bruce Arians, they just won a Super Bowl, a year ago, right? 1 year removed from a Super Bowl. He just moves upstairs, an administrative role. Still around the organization. You don't think he's still advising? I guarantee he is. He's on the sidelines. He's one of part of the reason that Marshawn Lattimore got in a fight with Mike Evans. You think he's still there? The Chiefs were making playoffs with Alex Smith. Insert Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowls. Right? There can be a smooth switch without falling into the absolute basement, into the depths. And I'm not calling for his job just yet, but I'm just saying, look at the trend. It's right there in front of you. I mean, it's right there. I mean, you tell me. You tell me.
Yeah, it is a slippery slope if you can't nail both of them at the same time. And that's the really tough part. You mentioned Mahomes coming in and just transforming that Kansas City team. Yes, they had a defensive coach, and he just walks in and like that flip of a switch, they're great. They're not good anymore. They're great. And it takes them up to that next level. So, and then you look at the teams that haven't been able to do it, and that's Cleveland. And you fall into that deep abyss of the NFL, and it's really hard to climb out of.
Cleveland is a big one. Trying to look at all these teams that there's a bunch of Browns coaches on here. There's a couple Lions coaches on here, right? So just do we want to be those? Do we want to be those organizations?
Do you want to be
right?
Detroit? Do you want to be Cleveland? I would think probably
not.
Yeah.
Right?
Houston.
Like, call me crazy. Call me crazy. Kellen Moore looks pretty good. Look, now, they're not going to do it. Like, there's no chance. But, I mean, imagine this year, right? Pickett plays, Kellen Moore gets the job. The job doesn't really exist, but say that they went off the rails and made a switch.
Right.
Kellen Moore, we give him a call. He gets that job, right? Doesn't like Pickett, drafts a new quarterback. Would you rather be, going into next season, would you rather be Kellen Moore with a first-round quarterback that's probably going to be better than Pickett, as a prospect, better than Pickett, as a talent? The top 10 are all better than Kenny Pickett this coming draft. As a talent prospect.
Yes. I mean, this draft coming up is nuts.
Right. So would you next year rather be Kellen Moore with a better young quarterback, or would you rather be Mike Tomlin still trying to make it work with Kenny Pickett?
I mean, we have to see Pickett first is the main thing.
That's true.
But I understand completely what you're saying.
I'm just saying there's a trend. Defensive coaches that just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't. Let's transition. Let's get into hits and misses. We had kind of a lot of both this week, but we are climbing back on our bets, starting to get back on what we do
Winning
best.
ways.
Yeah. So let's go hits and misses.
Well, so hit number one. We predicted Trevor Lawrence would be significantly better this year under Doug Peterson. We actually have Doug Peterson as the coach of the year in that division.
Yes.
I believe, and then we have Trevor Lawrence to be the breakout player, and he has looked pretty good. And I will say, he's not quite the dynamic, right? He's not at the Mahomes Herbert level yet, but he's got the talent to do it. And he's starting to become more refined.
Yes.
In the process. He's able to move really, really well. Throw on the run, fantastic.
Really pleased that team.
Yeah, and they're really getting him outside the pocket, using his athleticism. He's able to use his big arm, giving him defined looks like we always talk about. They've done a really, really nice job with his development in Jacksonville. We kind of saw that coming.
Yes.
Miss number one, we thought Carson Wentz would be slightly better and pretty productive in Washington. I didn't expect him to be a world beater by any means, but he was 27 touchdowns, 7 picks in Indy. He wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I didn't think he'd be that bad in Washington. Well, he's not looking good, and you look at the stats at the end of the game, it's not bad, but you look at his stats at halftime, he had 2 yards passing. So it's you need more consistency out of him, and a lot of it, I get it, might be on the offensive line, but regardless, it's just not a good situation.
It just doesn't seem like it's working out all that much. No. I don't know what it will look like later season, and when things kind of start to develop more and
settle down a bit.
They get some more time together, and they get to know each other, make better reads, and have better chemistry just all around as an offensive unit.
Right.
But just nothing has seemed to look like it's even taking shape there.
It just everything looks difficult, right?
You
look at Kansas City and Buffalo. It just looks easy and effortless.
Effortless.
Right?
I was about to say it. That's a perfect way to describe
effortless. Just and it looks effortful in Washington.
Yeah,
so.
they are really. It looks strenuous.
Yeah.
And they're not really getting anywhere.
All right, hit number 2. So we predicted the Lions would be everything that they've been so far. Exciting, pretty productive, decent offense. They're going to play scrappy, but at the end of the day, they're still going to be the Lions, right? They've been all of that. Didn't look really good against Philly in the first half, but they're scrappy. They're going to make it close. It was a 3-point game at the end. We saw they actually have some talent, right? Get a win in week 2. A lot of talent, put up a good amount of points against Washington, right?
Yes.
Defense looked good, offense put up points. Like I said, exciting, productive. And then here in week 3, we've seen that, they're the Lions. They were up at, at one point 14-3, I think even 14-0 on Minnesota.
Let it slip.
And they lose 28-24, right?
Great
because,
game, though.
Again, just like we had predicted, they're still the Lions, right?
Yes.
So they've been absolutely everything that we thought they would be. And they showed that they really kind of cemented that this past week against Minnesota.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And we were saying that they are going to be good, but, our predictions show. What do we have them at, 4-13?
No, the Lions.
Or do we have them at 7?
We have them at 7-9, 7-10 or 8-9. But we have them. They're not. No, we don't have them too bad.
Not as world beaters, but they'll be all right.
Yeah, they're gonna win.
And they're playing a very Detroit brand of football too, just hard-nosed, scrappy football. And I think that's kind of what they needed.
I agree. And Goff's been good enough.
Yeah, he has been. He's been serviceable.
The Chargers, they're looking rough. And that's a problem given that they're our pick to get to the AFC Championship game. Herbert was at least my pick, I think, for MVP even. Their line's banged up, and it's not very good. Their receivers are not separating. Herbert's hurt. Their secondary's weak without J.C. Jackson, who's hurt.
It doesn't look great.
They lose their left tackle for the whole year. It's
losing
tough.
Rashawn Slater like that's going to hurt.
Look, now I know there's cluster injuries, but you got to start thinking about Brandon Staley's job security because you can't have Justin Herbert on a rookie deal and miss the playoffs again. Right? That just can't happen. You can't be missing the playoffs with Justin Herbert as your quarterback. So that's a miss for us. We have them in the AFC Championship game, and they're 1-2, and they show no signs of getting any better as cluster injuries are hitting them.
Yes, Staley's seat definitely seems like it's going to be getting a little warmer as the season goes on, and they're going to have to show that they can at least battle through some of these injuries. It's the NFL; you're bound to get banged up throughout the season. Kind of stinks that it's so early, but they have to find a way to rebound. They have to find a way to at least get a playoff bid in a very, very tough division. So they got to start winning games.
You got to do what you got to do. When you have Justin Herbert, like I said, you can't miss the playoffs.
No, you
2
can't.
years in a row.
But it's really tough when he's injured.
Yes. All right, hit number 3. 3-2 on our bets this week. We're finally back to our winning ways.
Feels good.
I'm trying to think back here. I know we had Pittsburgh that didn't hit, and what was the other one?
The Chiefs one didn't hit.
And the Chiefs over Indy didn't hit.
Yes.
Who else did we have though?
We had the Bengals that hit. We
Bengals hit.
We had the Eagles, and we had the Lions.
And the Lions, perfect. So the Eagles, they were like -6.5. They hit.
Yeah.
The Lions were +6.5. They hit.
It was perfect. We're winning.
And the Bengals throttled the Jets as expected. We're back on our winning ways. We will look to stack the wins coming next week. And finally, miss number 3. I lost in the week 3 predictions.
It feels so good. It feels so good.
Luke's feeling good here on this little victory lap for him this week.
I needed that win.
Yeah, that was almost a must win. That's an early must win.
Yeah,
right. So very rarely do you get a lot of must wins early. Like for example, we talked about Brandon Staley.
Yeah,
Brandon Staley. They play at Houston. You lose to Houston to start 1-3 with Justin Herbert as your quarterback. After losing at Houston, like that's a tough spot. There's a lot of pressure.
This is very.
I don't want to call it a must win, but it's like a must win, right? That's kind of how I felt for you, as a must win.
Yeah.
You get a good victory. 425 window was your best friend.
It was. I gained some momentum this week, so it feels good. You will have to be wearing the tiara in the second segment, so that's gonna feel so good to watch for the first time. But that pretty much wraps up the first segment here. Come back for the second. We will have all of the week 3 recap. We'll go over all the big games, show you some highlights, some of the big stuff that happened, and just kind of run through everything that happened in week 3 of the NFLs.
Second segment is back of the issue here on a Thursday. The 29th already of September? Yeah. Is that right? We got a game tonight. We got Cincinnati will host the Dolphins. That's an interesting game. We'll get to predictions, but keep in mind that the Miami defense was on the field for 90 snaps in that heat last week against Buffalo's physical team.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs.
You'd have to figure that they'd be at least a little bit.
Physical O-line, short week. That was the heat down in Miami. 90 plays, something to keep your eye on, but good to have you guys in. In case you missed it, I had a rant earlier in the episode, about this league is it's moving offense, and the defensive head coaches are getting left in the dust just a bit. We got our hits and misses per usual. Now we're going to talk some of the bigger games. We're going to talk all the games, but we'll really hit on some of the bigger games and the bigger takeaways from this past week, week 3, and finally segment 3, we'll have our predictions and our bets on a budget.
Yeah, it'll be a great way to hopefully continue our kind of streak we have going. Every week now we've improved by 1 on our bets on a budget.
First week was tough.
Yeah, 1-4. 1-4, then we worked to 2-4. Now this week
2-3.
2-3, and then this week now up to 3-2.
Yeah,
so
it feels good.
Yeah.
So a couple takeaways, right? One of our teams that kind of burned us in that 5 was the Steelers, right? I thought on the road in a division game, Tomlin's great as an underdog. They're plus I think 5.5 or something like that. At Cleveland 5.5. I figured that'd be a nice, easy cover. I thought they had a chance to win. But first off, they can't stop the run well enough, and the offense is just so bad. I mean, I'm not sure.
Watching that game was so bad.
Yeah, and so I've been trying to come up with a theory as to what their plan is, right? Because they're the number 1 or 2 team in defensive spending, and then they're first or second least in offensive spending, right? Which is completely contrarian to the league right now. The only thing I've come up with is that they want to hopefully pay some of these defensive guys early so they can eventually, because you get your value usually towards the back end of contracts most of the time.
Right.
Especially
the end loaded, yeah.
Right, especially, well, no, I'm saying but as an organization, the cap's going to go up, right? So you're going to pay them now, agree on this rate, but then 3 years down the road, the people that are getting paid in 3 years that are an edge rusher, for example, TJ Watt in 3 years is going to end up being the 8th most highest paid edge rusher or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, because the market's going to go up, per usual. So you end up getting a little bit of a discount, right, in the year 3, 4, 5 of the deal. So I think that might be their goal, is to pay all these defensive guys now, get a little bit of a discount, so by the time our offense is good, in 3 years, they're hoping, obviously, you develop it. That's their idealistic view, is that they develop the offense, right? That it's going to be really, really good in 3 years, and you'll have a complete roster.
Well, then that's 3-4 years down the road, though, and are they willing to wait that long?
No, and I think it's a flawed plan to begin with, because what pieces do you have in place right now to develop that offense?
Little to none. I mean, you have Najee, you have Deontay Johnson, who's average. He drops a lot of easy passes. He'll make a crazy one-handed falling backwards catch and then drop the pass.
I don't think he's bad. I think he's a really, really, really nice number 2 receiver.
I don't think Chase Claypool is somebody that I would particularly want to build around.
I think he's a really, really good 3 receiver.
George Pickens is a guy that I'd like to project.
I think he could be our number 1. That's the goal.
He'd be like, I'd say, kind of just our one star on the offense. Him and Najee, I think, have a lot of potential. But, I mean, Najee just has never had an offensive line to run behind. And it's really hard to be successful as a running back in this league when you can't find any holes open on your offensive line.
Right. I mean, obviously, we don't know what we haven't picked yet either. He could be a piece as well. But
that's also why we have to see him. You have to know what you have.
Right. And if you're sitting here thinking, well, if actually they truly think Matt Canada is the guy that can kind of develop this offense, that's on them. That's a front office issue.
Yeah.
That's just a pure. You're not watching the games, right? I don't know if they.
Because none of the schemes seem to work.
Right. Like you're not watching the games if you think that he's going to be the guy to take it to the next level.
No.
They need to figure something out, and quickly. All right, kind of shifting to the other side of the state of Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Eagles continue to impress. They are one of just 2 teams now that are 3-0.
Yeah.
Hurts, I mean, like we've always said, it might not be pretty. He might not throw the best deep ball in the world. He might not be the most accurate. But damn it, every time you look up, he's scoring 45 points. Maybe not that. That's a little much. They're scoring 30-plus almost every week, though. I mean,
it's
the offense is impressive. It's productive. He's a really good leader. Is that the best team in the NFC right now?
I think
right
so.
now, yes.
I think so.
Is it crazy that the number 1 seed when we look up? I think we have him at the 2 when we predicted it. So
yeah, we did have him at 2. I mean,
we had him at the 3. I think we had him at 3.
Did we? We
did.
Out of the NFC, you don't have much talent. So, I mean, they're going to rise to the top quicker than if they were, over in the AFC.
Right.
But I do think that they have the roster to compete with a Tampa. They do have the roster to go deep into the playoffs, I feel like, and make a run. If not this year, then next year maybe for like a really deep run.
I mean, you can definitely tell they're trending in the right direction, right? This feels a little bit Lamar when he won his MVP with the Ravens, right? Nobody, even though Lamar was fantastic, I don't think any of us went into that playoff year and was like, oh, they're winning the Super Bowl, right? They're going to say they're going to be a tough out. That's a tough beat because it's Lamar and he's really tough to stop.
Like a Cincinnati this last year.
Like a Cincinnati, right? But I don't even think they're quite there to where they're going to make that run, right? It feels very Lamar when he won his MVP. Win the MVP, great season. Not quite at the level where we're going to go win a multiple playoff games.
Or how about 2 years ago when Tennessee made a little bit of a run in the playoffs and then got knocked off about halfway through?
Maybe. It's the AFC Championship game, though. I don't think they're there yet. But either way, right, I see what you're saying, is that they're going to make some noise.
Yeah, they will.
We're not sure if they're at the quote-unquote, maybe top 2 contenders right now.
Either way, moving in the right
But they're
direction.
looking really good.
They are.
Line is fantastic. Defense is good. Another team that has been kind of a surprise has been the Jags. I mean, we said that Lawrence is going to be so much improved under Peterson. Their offense is going to look right. It's going to look organized. He's an adult in the room. He's going to kind of bring the temperature down from Urban. And I think it's helped Trevor Lawrence a lot.
Oh, it was evident this week, too. I mean, he was completing a lot of really nice rhythm timing throws that he has... I mean, he's kind of struggled with that stuff.
Yeah, he has.
Just in the past year to last year.
Right.
And they're finally starting to seem like everything is meshing. And I don't love Trevor Lawrence as a leader in particular either. I mean, I don't feel like he has like the biggest motivating voice.
Yeah.
I would say like a Joe. He's not like on a Joe Burrow level, who I think is just excellent.
Yeah, I don't think he has that swagger and the confidence of Joe, but I think he could.
And I think he's gaining it with this little bit of success that he's starting to achieve now.
Right. So he did struggle on those timing rhythm throws. He's what they call an overstrider. When he goes to throw, he strides a little too far,
right?
Which is going to limit his hips. The ball's kind of going to die a little bit, right? Even though he's got a live arm on some of those rhythm throws, right? He hitches up a little bit. He'll overstride, kind of not get quite as much on. It won't have the flight or the zip. So they've kind of worked on that. And then also Trent Dilfer was talking about this, that they're doing a lot of half-field reads, right? So basically at the line, they want him to be able to almost eliminate a half of the field. We're not even, unless, fit hits the shan, right?
Yeah.
Unless it goes so south, you're not even looking at the left side of the field. We're going to play action fake. You're going to have 2 or 3 defined reads on the right side. If not, use your athleticism, get outside of the pocket.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's what
really well.
That's been going really, really well for them.
Yeah.
Okay. But on the flip side, you got to make sure that there's a supporting cast around them, a run game, all that type of stuff. Play complementary football. Buffalo's learning the hard way. Josh Allen threw 60? I'm going to look right now. I have it all. I have the games pulled up. I want to say it was 63 times. He threw 60-plus times. I know that.
Very Josh
I think
Allen
he
reliant.
63 times was right, and he had 8 carries. So, I mean, you're looking at 71 where he's the focal. That doesn't even count hurries. That doesn't even count sacks, right? And so he could have probably got sacked 3 or 4 times, right? So you're looking at almost 70 dropbacks almost, and 8 rushes. That's ridiculous. That's a lot of wear and tear on a quarterback.
That is a
ton. He looked drained in the fourth quarter. He didn't have the zip. He didn't have the athleticism. And how could you after 55, the last 5 minutes were rough. The first 55 minutes carrying the team.
I mean, you got to find a way to get him some help. Whether that's some different schemes in the running game, different blocking assignments, change whatever you need to. Take a little bit of the weight off this dude's shoulders because you can't burn him out.
Yeah.
He's so valuable. If you continue to do this week after week and just expect, he'll be fine. He'll bounce back. He'll be able to give us that every week. That is just unrealistic to ask that of even a great quarterback like that. So you got to tread very lightly with that one.
And I think they need to work in some more gimme throws with him as well, right? He's got a great arm, and he pushed the ball down. He's aggressive, and he's probably part of the problem on this as well because he's that aggressive nature, right? He's probably saying, "Coach, let me throw the ball downfield, let me zip it in there."
Almost playing himself out,
right? And that's fine. But there's got to be not that you should ever drop him back 63 times, but theoretically, if you do, about 25 of those should be almost within 1 line of the yard of the line of scrimmage or 1 yard behind it.
Yeah.
Right, they should be gimme throws. You're talking screens, bubbles, those little pitches in front where somebody's running by, right? Mm-hmm. Little things like that, slants when it's off coverage, something like that, right? Little things like that to kind of get him rolling a little bit, and those are also plays where he doesn't really have to do much, right? Those are plays where you can kind of don't really have to worry about much. I'm just gonna hit, Gabe Davis on a little bubble screen. I literally just catch it and throw it, 9 yards to my left. We're in business.
Yeah.
Just little things like that would go a long way as well. But they are very Buffalo's very Josh Allen dependent.
Yes, they are.
If they can get a running game, they might be really, really hard to stop. But with that being said, let's get into some of the other games that were, less important. We kind of breezed through a little bit.
All right, one of the semi-bigger games that kind of stuck out this weekend was the Bengals and the Jets. I mean, that was just...
Well, right, and so I think the reason it sticks out is because the Bengals kind of look like they're getting their mojo back a little bit, right? They're trying to...
They kind of got their feet back underneath them.
Right.
Joe Burrow looked pretty good.
Looked a lot better. And Joe Flacco kind of came back down to earth a little bit because at the end of the day, he's a backup, right? He can go in and you're going to compete for a couple games. He'll win you one of them maybe. But at the end of the day, he's a backup.
And he's not going to be world-beating.
Right, and when you throw him 52 times, it's really, really hard to win.
Relying on Joe Flacco 52 times. Say that out loud.
That's a tough spot to be in.
That's the Jets.
Yeah, it's good seeing I guess not good because I'm a Pittsburgh fan, but I do like Joe Burrow, and I think the Bengals are a talented team. And so seeing them kind of back on track, that feels right.
Yeah, it does.
All right, how about the Titans getting the win over the Raiders, getting their first win of the year, moving up to 1-2. The Raiders are now the only winless team in football.
Surprising.
So this is kind of a little extracurricular hit here, right? Kind of add-on bonus. We said they were going to be last, and everyone was giving us so much. You know what? How about actually let's see how they do this weekend. We both picked them to win. We'll get to that, but they get the Broncos this weekend at home.
Look, I mean...
So that's not a given.
No.
But theoretically, what if they go 0-4, and especially if they do, maybe if they don't, we'll do a little segment. Maybe we'll just call it shut your mouth, right? I don't even know.
Las Vegas, maybe?
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of pushback.
We won't even do it. We won't even do a segment. I'll just tell them to shut their mouth. That's what I think what we'll do. That's kind of becoming a theme. I told the Browns fans to stop talking. The Raiders fans were all over us.
I think Vegas is next.
Yeah, for being we're not coming in last. We were 0-3, and you can't even get Devontae Adams to work, so that's tough.
So,
all right, Saints at the Panthers. The Panthers going to get a win 22-14. Baker's first win as a Carolina Panther. Jameis continues to look bad. He had 2 picks on the day as opposed to just 1 touchdown, so you're getting all the risk, not a lot of the reward. Baker looked awful as well, completing under 50% of his throws for under 200 yards, but didn't turn the ball over. Good enough to get a win. Christian McCaffrey looked good. Kind of the whole story of the game there.
Yeah, it didn't look great for Baker.
Whatever. It's Baker. I mean, we kind of figured. Ravens at the Patriots. I think Lamar right now is playing at an MVP level, and he's earning every bit of the contract that he's going to get, whether it's from the Ravens or somebody else, and then the Ravens would be crazy to let him walk.
Best football I have seen him play, I think, ever in his career, even with during his MVP season. Right now, this trajectory that he's on so early, would another MVP shock you if he stays on this?
And here's the thing, he's a better passer right now than he was 2 years ago when he won his MVP. He looks like a more confident and comfortable thrower of the football, a distributor, as opposed to just running around and making throws every now and then. Right now, he is at least above average. He's now, split the league in half. He got 16 and 16. He is at 100% in the top 16, I could argue in top 10 of just passing quarterbacks.
He is electric, and I got him on the fantasy team, so that just feels like a little extra win for me.
Lucky you. Mac Jones will be out, probably, my guess, 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Evidently, it's a very severe high ankle sprain, so we'll be rolling with Brian Hoyer, it looks like. All right, Lions at the Vikings. The Lions, like I said, in true Detroit fashion, up 14 at one point, drop to 1-2 after losing 28 to 24. Honestly, I think just the offense in Minnesota just got the better of them. Like I said, we said they'd be scrappy. We said they'd be entertaining.
They are.
They were every bit of that. But again, they're still Detroit, so they're going to lose some games they should win, just like that one.
Absolutely.
Like we already talked about the Eagles waxing the Commanders. How about the Chiefs fall to the Colts in Indianapolis?
Now, that was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. And honestly, I don't want to sit here and blame Chris Jones, right? The defensive tackle who got that taunting call on Matt Ryan to extend that last drive to allow the Colts to score and take the lead. But also, you're a professional athlete. You got to think a little bit, right? That was a really dumb decision. You're off the field. You're done. Your offense is about to get back on the field.
Like, why are we taking
that's about to end
unnecessary
the game.
penalties?
It's almost ending the game. And you take a stupid penalty. Ticky-tack or not, why would you even give them a chance to call it? That's a terrible idea. Mahomes and Bieniemy getting into it on the sideline on their way to halftime.
Yeah.
Now, I think it'll be fine. Andy's going to bring the temperature down a little bit. Mahomes is super coachable. He's super level-headed. They'll be fine. But, I mean, this is what happens when you get, all new wide receivers. Your offensive line is still, they got rebuilt last year, but they're still kind of coming into their own a little bit.
Yeah, especially when Mahomes was so comfortable with who he had before and having Cheetah as that safety valve to kind of throw to when things went awry. It's just something that they're going to have to learn through, and I see them, getting over that hump eventually. It's just going to be a little bit of growing pains with these new pieces. But overall, I was super shocked. I mean, I was watching that game. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, Indianapolis, a team that has looked like they were in shambles for the last 3 or 2 weeks prior, walk in and compete with the Chiefs and win. So it was a great week. Kind of interesting, fun to see.
To me, it almost looked like they wanted it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? 0-2, that was one of those, or I guess 0-1-1, right? That's one of those early, have-to-win games.
Yeah, and Matt Ryan has something to prove on a new team and needs to get that first win.
They're at 500 right now, which is crazy. 1-1-1.
Strange.
All right, the Texans, who they actually tied week 1, are now 0-2-1 after falling on a last-second Cairo Santos field goal to the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears are 2-1, but to be fair, at one point they were 5-0. And then they finished 7-9 or something like that, right? So I don't take a lot from the Bears starting quick. They beat the Niners in a monsoon when Trey Lance couldn't complete a pass, and you beat the Texans. So I mean, I'm not putting a lot of weight to this. The only good team you played really, in an actual real good football game was Green Bay, and you got waxed.
Yeah, you got beat bad.
So I don't take a whole lot from that game. We talked about the Jags being a real good surprise, winning 38-10. The Rams and Cardinals, right? Low scoring affair, right? 20-12, the Rams get the victory over the Cardinals in Arizona. That offense in Arizona just can't figure it out. Kyler looked decent, but again, got to run the football. I like the air raid offense. That's fine. That's kind of the direction of the league. But you still have to you still have to hand the ball off sometimes. They threw it 58 times.
Yeah, they did. That really hurt you.
Yeah, it hurt me, and Kyler's on my fantasy team. That was tough. Look, you can't run the ball, excluding Kyler's 2 carries, which, by the way, also Kyler needs probably some more carries there. He's electric with his legs. They had 19 carries. You can't have 19 carries and 58 pass attempts. It's not going to work.
It's a little lopsided.
It's not going to work, and I think that's the problem there. You got to be a little bit more balanced, play complementary football.
Yeah.
Packers narrowly escaped the heroics of Tom Brady into the fourth quarter.
Oh, man.
14-12, we were watching that one. That was a nail-biter.
Toss it on.
Yep. I guess
I
this
feel
is
like
the perfect time to do it.
This is a perfect time to bring it out.
Yep. So this is my first week. Sorry. It's my first week here wearing the TR. Does it fit? Does it look good?
Yeah, it looks good.
Cool.
Looks real nice.
And mostly because of Devondre Campbell's hand sneaking in there on that 2-point conversion to keep the Packers from to keep the Bucs from beating the Packers. You obviously had the Packers. I had the Bucs. I figured the Bucs at home would kind of get their offense figured out a little bit. They didn't. It looked awful. Tough day.
Yeah.
Tough day.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels good to have the TR on that side of the.
Here's another one that screwed me too.
Which one in particular?
Falcons at the Seahawks. The Falcons get a win 27-23 on the road. I thought home field would be more of a factor. But, at the end of the day, Mariota is a veteran. He's been there before. He can kind of, crowds aren't going to affect him like a young quarterback. I thought Seattle's defense looked really, really poor down the stretch. Not able to stop the run at all. Cordell Patterson was gashing them. That's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
The linebackers are young, and so I just don't think they were seeing it, and they weren't stopping the run towards the end, and they just didn't give their offense a shot at the end at all. So 27-23, the Falcons absolutely screw me. Even when I don't bet them, they still come back to haunt me. Is what it is.
That one felt good. I mean, we're not on good terms, me and the Falcons yet.
No,
but that's a step in the right direction.
Sure.
Pick up a win this week felt good.
Certainly. Broncos, I think I've only seen ever one score that was 11-10, and it was when Troy Polamalu in the snow against, I want to say that would be the Chargers, where he had the one-handed pick, or maybe the Titans, something like that.
It was the Chargers.
That was the last 11-10 score I can remember, but the Broncos beat the Niners 11-10. Jimmy G had that where he stepped out of the back at the end. So that's a tough week for Jimmy. Look, first week getting all the first team reps right in practice, so it's going to take some time. Give him a deep breath. I think he's going to rebound really nice at home against the Rams, who he historically has played pretty well against. But we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, the Broncos offense still looks awful.
It doesn't look good for the pieces they have for Russ.
Yeah,
nothing's clicking.
And we said earlier in the show, it's got to look easy, right? It should look fluid. It looks too difficult.
Yeah.
It looks hard.
Russ doesn't seem like he has the same, I don't want to say mobility, but
willingness to move. I don't know.
He doesn't seem like he doesn't want to get out of the pocket, shake things around a little bit, and just move the play and extend the play. Like, we've seen him do it countless times in Seattle. And why do they seem to still, it almost looks like, it makes me think if it was Russell or Seattle at this point, because still in the fourth quarter, it looks like they finally take the leash off of Russ and let him go.
I agree.
And let him call his own game, audible into what he wants. I don't know if it's like a him thing where it's just like, okay, in the fourth quarter he realizes he's got to turn it on and he turns it on, or if it's the coaching and everything else that's dictating how he calls the game for the first three quarters. But there's something going on.
I agree. All right, Monday Night Football, Cowboys beat the Giants. Not a whole lot to say there. Two teams that aren't very good, and I don't care much about comeback. For the third segment, we have our predictions and bets on a budget.
What's up? We are back. It is the third segment here on The Issue on a Thursday, late September, getting ready for week 4 action in the NFL. So we got all of our predictions for the week coming up in this segment. We have, obviously, game by game, we're going to predict wins, losses, give you a little insight to why, and then finish up the episode with bets on a budget for week 4. We'll give you 5 of our best lines where we are putting our money for this week, and we'll see how it turns out. We have been doing better. We've been gradually improving week by week, so it's kind of our time.
I feel fantastic about our bets this week. I feel great about them.
There's some really good lines.
I mean, I'm looking at first one, the big favorite. They worry me, but I feel pretty decent about it. I really nice across the board. I don't know. We're gonna see.
It'll be interesting. But yeah, we have our week 4 predictions. It should be crazy. I mean, every week up until now has been fantastic in the NFL. It's been getting really good. Right,
and I will say, I think the 1 o'clock window is going to be slow. Right, so the 1 o'clock window, let's throw that like London game or whatever. It's going to start at 9:30 a.m.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
So we'll lump that in with the 1 a.m., right? So the early window, I think, could be a little bit boring, right? I think the Bills-Ravens is going to be good. Jags-Eagles has the potential to be good. And a sneaky dogfight is going to be the Chargers and Texans. Every other game, though, I think is going to be pretty boring, like Browns, Falcons, Commanders, Cowboys.
Yeah.
Jets Steelers probably isn't going to be a great watch. Bears Giants isn't going to be a great watch. Colts Titans, right? Games like that. But the 425 window is loaded. Cardinals Panthers, which they might be equally as bad. Broncos Raiders is going to be good. Pats Packers Chiefs Bucks on this for the night game, and then the Monday night game is good as well. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into it then.
Yeah, let's go. Week 4 predictions of the NFL. There it is.
Okay, it's going to start with a bang. Let's go Thursday night. We'll have, tonight, I guess, the Dolphins at the Bengals. So like I said, keep in mind the Dolphins defense played 90 snaps in that Miami Heat against a physical team in Buffalo.
Exhausting.
That's exhausting. Look for the Bengals to jump on them in the second half, right? Coming out of half, right? It's going to be close, probably, I don't know, like 10-7 or something like that going into half. Look for the Bengals to separate after the half. I'll take the Bengals to beat the Dolphins. I think it's going to be a better rested team. Played the Jets, right? I mean, nobody's like, oh, the Jets are really physical, right? So
yeah,
it's going to be a more rested team. The Dolphins going on the road. I don't feel great about that. And they come down to earth a little bit. I'll go with the Bengals in a close one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree there. I mean, I don't see the Bengals dropping that. Yeah. I feel like they're finally starting to gel. They're finally starting to move and take the steps that they need to get back to at least where they were last season. Now, I don't know if they're going to make that same run, push through the playoffs. Most likely not. I mean, statistically speaking, most likely not. Right. But at least get back to that same competitive level. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, all on the top of their games. I see that happening.
Right. All right. The one, the 9:30 a.m. game would be the Vikings at the Saints. I think we both like the Vikings here. I mean, look, the Saints aren't bad. Or maybe that one's not. I don't know where that's being played. I don't know if it's overseas. I don't think so. I really have no idea. I'm going to be honest with you. Let's click on it.
That's strange.
Wait, no, I think it is overseas. Where's
it
at?
It would have to be if it was going to be at 9 a.m.
Yep. Okay, so it is an international series.
Yeah.
I want to say, it's in London. Okay, that makes sense. Either way, we'll both take the Vikings, even more so now, knowing that they're not actually in New Orleans in the Dome. Vikings just have better talent all around and a better quarterback that I trust.
They do.
Okay, Seahawks at the Lions. I think we'll both take the Lions here. Seahawks are just, where are the points going to come from? And the Lions are too good of a football team to drop this game.
Yeah.
Right? They've been scrapping. They are owed a win here. And I think they get one pretty easily over Seattle.
Yeah, I don't see where the Lions lose this game. I mean, Seattle, they almost make points look hard to come by. Geno Smith just is not the guy to get it done there. And they don't, quite honestly, they don't have the overall roster to compete. I think Detroit on the climb.
They have a good roster.
They do.
Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown is, so far this year, a top 10 wide receiver. I think overall he'll, kind of settle to be a top 15 receiver.
Yeah.
Hawkinson's a good tight end. The O-line's good. I like the Lions.
I like Detroit.
All right, Jets at the Steelers here, and I went back and forth because it's a total Steeler game to lose,
what
right?
You said before the show was probably the most realistic thing that I could see happening.
Right, like it's going to be close when it shouldn't be. The Steelers will probably score 10 points in the first half. Jets will score like 3. It'll be like 13-3 going into the fourth quarter. The Steelers will try to play prevent defense, get shredded. The game will be tied. And the Jets will probably make some stupid turnover. We'll get the ball, we'll pick up like one first down, and Boswell will hit a field goal to win it.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's a total Steeler game. I do think they win. But I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think the Jets are going to scrap. And the Steelers, quite frankly, aren't a good football team, but I think they'll beat the Jets.
I agree.
All right, Giants. Hosting the Bears. We both like the Giants here. They might not be great, but at least they have a quarterback that can complete passes. Justin Fields has completed 23 passes in 3 games.
It's looked ugly.
That's bad. That's under 10 a game. That's like high school numbers.
Yeah.
Even then, I think high school quarterbacks are completing more passes per game. I'm not saying it's an easy league by any means, but we need to see some growth, some development here, and it's not happening. The Giants at least have somebody who can get the ball downfield a little bit. We might not love Daniel Jones, but he's slightly better as of right now than Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Saquon's playing well, and their defense is at least serviceable. The pass rush is pretty decent as well. I'll take the Giants.
They have more overall units that they can excel in at some times.
100%.
Not even not crazy going to be top of the league stuff, but at least to win in this particular game. So I like the Giants.
All right, to Titans at the Colts. We'll both take the Colts here. I think Jonathan Taylor starts to break out here. The Titans aren't very good against the run, and they had an injury in their linebacking core, I think, right before the season. And this is the first time they'll see Indy, and I think Indy's going to exploit that. They're going to get really nice combo blocks, climb to the second level, and Jonathan Taylor's going to have a lot of holes to run through. I'll take the Colts, and I think it's going to be kind of ugly. They're going to ball control like 35 minutes of time of possession, maybe even closer to 40. Just ball control it and win by about a touchdown.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think they're going to just really just possession their way to a victory here. Just keep the ball out of Ryan Tannehill's hands. Don't give the Tennessee Titans any sort of chance, right. Any sort of gimmies to kind of come back in that one.
All right, Chargers at the Texans. I swear to God I went back and forth on it. I actually did. This morning.
When you have to look at all of those injuries in L.A., it's tough. But then again, you have to remember it's Davis Mills, though.
Right, but right now, today, with all the injuries, outside of the quarterback position, is the roster of the Chargers, with all the injuries, that much better than Houston?
No, but I also think...
Might be worth like a field goal more.
And yes, but I think we both also trust Jay Herb enough to get it done when he needs to.
I agree. That's why I'm taking the Chargers, but I'm just saying I went back and forth.
I mean, the rosters are similar when you look at those injuries because you're missing a lot of keys.
This is a total Chargers game to lose right here. They lose these type of games. They're a lot like the Steelers. They'll play down to the opponent. Going on the road to Houston, it's a tough spot, I'll say that.
It's tough.
A lot of pressure. Well, I'll take the Chargers narrowly. I think it's going to be closer than it should.
Yeah.
Okay, Browns at the Atlanta Falcons. I think we'll both take the Browns here. They have a better roster. Nick Chubb's going to be able to run the football. Amari Cooper is still the technician, the route technician on the outside, which is giving Jacoby Brissett a lot of separation to throw to, which he is certainly capable of doing. He might not be dynamic, but he can hit the open man, and they're getting open.
He's doing fine.
He's serviceable, and he's winning games.
Yep.
If you said, hey, after 4 weeks, Browns fans, you're going to be 3-1 with Jacoby Brissett, you would take that all day.
Yeah.
And they'll beat the Falcons there. Commanders at the Cowboys. I think we're both going to take the Cowboys only because the Commanders just aren't very good. And like it or not, Cooper Rush, he reminds me a lot of like a Jimmy G, where he doesn't do anything outstanding. All he does is stay within the timing and the rhythm of the offense, and he's mastered the timing and the rhythm.
Yes.
Right, and so what that allows you to do is get the ball out quick, on time. Your offense has that mojo, that rhythm. You're getting down the field. Yeah. You're picking up 7 a play. You're in 3rd and shorts. You're running the football well because they're off balance. You're not going to take the top off the defense. You're going to need 12-play drives. But you can do it, and Cooper Rush has been doing it really, really well so far. So
kind of just game managing.
Game managing to its finest, and I think that is going to lead them to win over the Commanders at home.
I 100% agree.
Jags at the Eagles. We'll both take the Eagles here. We think the Jags are ascending, 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're quite at the level that Philly is. I don't think their defense is quite as good, and I don't think the weapons are there.
No, I don't even think the quarterback is there. I like Jalen Hurts way more than I like Trevor Lawrence.
I don't know if I'd go way more, but I like him more. I certainly think he's more productive.
He's way more productive.
If you said 5 years, I'm taking T-Law. But, I mean, right now, Jalen Hurts is more productive. You can't deny that.
I think you can project T-Law a little further, but I'm just saying in the short term right now, I think the gap's pretty large between Jalen Hurts and a T-Law. That's why
in productivity, yes.
That's why I like the Eagles.
In pure passing, I'd argue. But no, I agree. I think the Eagles.
And you're right. The Eagles do have better weapons. I mean,
they're just a better top to bottom
roster. The Jags
roster.
don't have an AJ Brown. The Jags.
Yeah. They don't even have a Devontae Smith.
No, they don't.
Right.
So.
All right. Let's go with the Bills at the Ravens. We're split on this one. I will take the home Ravens again. The Bills' offense played 90 snaps, so their defense might be fresh. Offense, you're going to see some problems. And here's the thing. They're going to come out and try to establish that running game, right? Because they just threw the ball 63 times, so now they got to prove, no, we can run the ball. Well, here's the problem. I don't think they can. So they're going to sit there and try to establish the run, and I think Baltimore is going to be able to stop the run. I think Lamar's dynamic. I will take the Ravens to win 34-30 at home.
No, I like Josh Allen in this spot. I mean, he's now Josh Allen does very good when he's coming back from a loss and has something to prove. And they have something this week where they can go to a very, very tough opponent in the AFC, somebody that they're going to have to beat and get through to the playoffs, it looks like. I mean, with Lamar playing like this, if this team can avoid injuries for once, they're going to be very, very scary to face.
I don't disagree.
Come playoff time.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of those games where, the Bills understand what they have in front of them. I I just like everything that Buffalo has going into this game. I know they might be a little Josh Allen dependent, but Josh Allen is, I'd say, one of the best in the game.
I agree.
I'm going to roll with the Bills.
All right, that's fair. All right, Cardinals at the Panthers. I think we're both going to take the Cardinals here. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, am I taking Kyler or am I taking Baker?
Kyler.
Taking Kyler. That's about all there is to it. And I think top to bottom, it's a better roster as well. All right, Denver at the Vegas Raiders. We're both going to shock the world a little bit and take the Raiders. I think they get their first win here. They're going to kind of figure it out. Also, a little bit of desperation.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels can't start 0-4. That's a tough one. Devontae Adams and Derek Carr, they got to start getting along and start making it happen. And Denver has showed no signs of being able to actually get the offense moving, so we'll both take Vegas.
Yes.
All right, Patriots at the Packers. We'll both take the Packers. The Patriots has no offense, and now they're going to start Brian Hoyer. That's enough said.
Oh, yeah.
Chiefs at the Bucks. We're both going to take Kansas City. Who's going to score for the Bucks? Are they going to get above 20 points? I don't think so. Are the Chiefs going to get above 30? Probably.
Yeah.
I think this has the potential to get ugly. The only thing that might save them is the defense of the Bucks, but even then, I still like the Chiefs to score a lot of points. Kansas City wins in Tampa. And finally, the Monday night game. The Los Angeles Rams go to the San Francisco 49ers. We are split on this one. You're going to take the Rams. I'll take the Niners. First of all, Shanahan has owned Sean McVay. That's not been deniable. And I think Jimmy G is just going to be able to distribute the football enough to win the football game. I think the defense is going to hold a struggling Rams offense to about 17 points. I think the Niners are going to win ugly 22-17.
Look, as much as I like to be high on Jimmy G and the 49ers, I can't forget what I saw this last week with Jimmy G and his inconsistency against a very, very anemic, still, Denver Broncos team. Yep. So I think the Rams are just way too high-powered this year to lose. I mean, look, I understand that Shanahan owns McVay in a lot of senses. I'm not going to try to deny it. I know it's undeniable. But I'm just saying, statistically speaking, you're bound to at least lose one every now and then.
You can go with the approach that he's due, the old baseball approach. He's due. McVay is due, I guess.
But plus, this Rams team is just so good.
They are good, but their offense has been struggling. So I don't know. That's going to be definitely a good game to watch.
But there's a lot of good games
as well as all the other one. So little tiebreaker. Obviously we're split on two. Our tiebreaker, I will take Houston plus 4.5. I think it's going to be a really close game, borderline upset. You feel better about Herbert and the Chargers, so you'll take them at minus 4.5. That'll be our tiebreaker. Just in case we split on our two selections that we were split on. So,
but there's also a lot of money to be made this week out there. 5 really good lines coming up for you guys. So bets on a budget. Let's get into it.
Yeah. All right, so let's go with a big favorite. Don't normally love big favorites, but I think Green Bay minus 10.5 versus New England is taking money. First of all, the defense of Green Bay is definitely their strong suit right now. And where's New England going to pick up yards and points with Brian Hoyer?
It's really hard to find.
It's going to be tough. I don't think Green Bay is going to put up a bunch of points. They'll only put up maybe anywhere between 17 and 24. That feels about right to me. Yeah. But I think they're only going to let up 6. I'll give New England a couple field goals. Oh. So Green Bay by 2 or 3 touchdowns feels about right for me.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I just don't see New England scoring points on any front of their game. Rushing is bad. Passing is going to be really bad now, even with the backup. I didn't like it with Mac Jones, let alone a backup. Yeah. So I definitely think this one has the chance to get out of hand rather quickly. Right. You could look up at the second quarter and be ready to be done. And NFL Red Zone will only cut to it for just the touchdown and then flash right away. Right. They know nobody's really invested in that game at that point. So
that won't be up for long. All right, Cleveland minus 1.5 at Atlanta. I think Atlanta's slightly overvalued here, just given that they did win in Seattle, but I think that isn't saying much. I think Cleveland's got a better roster top to bottom, and I think Atlanta does not stop the run very well. And what does Cleveland do best? Run the football. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Yeah. I think you could look up. They could have 200-plus yards on the ground. They're going to ball control, and they're going to win this football game by about a touchdown.
It could get,
probably even more, maybe 2 touchdowns.
I could see that. I mean, with the way that Cleveland's going to control Now, the only thing is, I do like Atlanta's rushing a little bit, just because
Mariota's athletic, gets out of the pocket a little bit. He can carry it.
He's able to move it. I just don't want to say that they're like completely immobile, but they're nowhere near the strength of a Cleveland run game.
Absolutely not. I agree. All right, Houston. If you can get them at plus 5.5 versus the Chargers, absolutely jump on it. I think Yahoo's got them at that. I'm pretty sure FanDuel does. 5.5 is a decent line for them. Look, LA's in a tough spot. Really injured. In Houston, they're going to be playing a little bit desperate, right? They're 0-2-1. The farther you get along in the season without a win, the more desperate that they get as a team.
Yeah.
We all know that these are professionals. When you add a little bit of desperation to put food on the table, I mean, that's their job. At the end of the day, that's their job.
Yep.
They have to perform. They have to do well. And the added desperation, I think, will do them well here. I'm not sure if they're going to win. I think they're going to make it close. They at least have a decent running game, so they're going to, kind of control the ball a little bit. Davis Mills can make maybe enough throws to stay in the ball game.
Yeah.
And with the Chargers being as beat up as they are, I don't think it's a terrible bet at plus 5.5. It's some really good value there.
That's our split. That's the tiebreaker
our
for the week.
Yeah. I mean, so you liked it. We got them also on a different betting app at 4.5. So you felt more comfortable at 4.5. I still like Houston at 4.5. I would advise you guys, if you can get them at 5.5, why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is our split. Arizona on the road as a dog, +2 at Carolina. A little bit of a puzzling line. Yeah. I mean, we all know Carolina's not that team, right? They're not good,
No.
right? Like, Baker's completing like around 54% of his throws. That's not good.
And I don't care what Arizona's offenses look like to this point in the year. We know that they're better than Carolina. I mean, that's not even... I like Coach more. I like Cliff Kingsbury over...
Yeah, and I don't even love Cliff Kingsbury, but he's better than Matt Rule.
Yeah, way better than Matt Rule. I'll take Kyler over Baker. I'll take Arizona's weapons over Carolina's weapons.
I think as a whole, absolutely. I think
I'll take the running game.
Defense is going to be close.
No, not running game. I'll take C-Mac over James Conner.
Yeah.
But, I mean, offense...
It's close.
It's...
But I think Arizona's a better football team.
There's no way that they should be the dogs in this.
I agree. I think Kyler's the ultimate
So jump
factor
all
there.
over it.
Yeah.
If they're going to give it to you, take it.
Absolutely. If they're going to give you points, take them. And finally, in the early window, the international game in London, I believe. Minnesota -2.5 against New Orleans. Initially, I thought it was at New Orleans. I'm like, wow, that's probably why they're only 2.5. On a neutral site field in London, I'm not sure why Minnesota wouldn't be favored more heavily in this game. I mean, at every unit, they're better. I'm not really... Maybe defense, probably New Orleans is a little bit better, but, I mean, Minnesota's got a just potent offense. 2 good backs, 2 good receivers, a good tight end. Line's good. Kirk Cousins is competent. Their DBs are a lot better. I mean, that's a good roster.
A 9 a.m. game. So you can really have the full football Sunday this week.
9:30 Eastern time on Sunday.
So that's what I'm hearing. You can have a full Sunday of football. Like, wake up, watch some football while you eat breakfast, then go out for lunch for a quick little bite to eat after that game. Right before the 1 o'clock window, you get back in time. So we can catch all of the football action.
Right. So I have a wedding. Do you think it'd be inappropriate to bring Red Zone on the phone?
No, the phone is fine. As long as you're not pulling up with like a laptop. If you bring that... I wouldn't do that, but I would have the phone. If not Red Zone, I would at least be monitoring scores.
I'm hoping they have a TV. Maybe it's at a hotel with a little mini bar setup. You know what I mean?
Lobby-ish area.
A little lobby-ish, maybe a little mini bar / restaurant.
That'd be good.
I don't really think it's customary to have TVs at weddings, but we'll see what we can swing. We got to do what we got to do. I'll definitely be able to catch the 9:30 game. I don't think definitely doesn't start at 9:30. I think it's like afternoon into the night, so we should be okay for most of the early games, especially that very early game. So,
I mean, hey, there you go.
All right, well, enough of this, yapping. Let's get on with our days, huh?
Yeah. So, guys, that's all we have for you today. That is all of bets on a budget for Week 4 of the NFL. We will be back next week to predict all of Week 5. We'll review Week 4, and it should be a pretty good time.
Also, if you forget the bets, go ahead over to our Instagram. which is
at the _issue podcast. All the links, though, are in the description of every single video episode. So.
Yeah, so go to there. If you forget them, they'll be posted there.
Yep. TikTok's huge.
TikTok, it'll be posted there as well. So again, link in the description. Go check that out.
No, yeah, we definitely appreciate all the support, all the listens, the views on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's all been fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. That was The Issue.